Two. What's up, everybody? Episode 1 of our brand new podcast. Today is Sunday, June 7th, 2020, PQE, post-quarantine era. I think it's fair to say that everybody's kind of going back, or things are reopening. I think we're over quarantine now. People are out in the streets rioting with no masks on and like not giving a shit about any type of safety guidelines. So I think it's safe to call it the post-quarantine era.
I'm waiting to see.
Waiting? Oh, when that second
waiting.
wave hits and we get fucked up again?
Yo, I totally expect in 2 weeks to hear some terrible news.
Yeah, I think shit's gonna kind of hit the fan.
That's the motto of 2020.
Yeah,
terrible news.
Facts. I am Kavan. I am 27 years old. I'm from Mount Vernon, New York. Once again, first episode of our podcast. We're just gonna give you guys a quick intro, let you guys know who we are. Who's up next?
I'll go. My name is Cam. My name is Kamal.
His name is Camelback.
Oh my God. 27, from the Bronx. That's all you need to know.
Is it? I think they need to know much more.
International
find
man
out.
of mystery. Honestly, we
They'll
don't know
find
that
out.
much more. We don't know that much more. If we're honest.
I'm Mike. I'm Michael. I am 28 years old. 28 years young to some.
Speak on a young king.
I am from the Bronx of New York.
No, you just say the Bronx. You already know. Everybody knows.
Of New York. BX all day.
You just gotta know.
That's right. All right. So, yeah, the three of us known each other for a long time. What is it? 14. Well, I've known, 14 years. Freshman year of high school.
Has it really been that long?
It's been 14 years, yeah.
Damn.
I wouldn't say we were all friends right off the bat. Kamal, we and I've known you since literally day one of high school, but we didn't talk until like June.
Well, you didn't talk to anyone, so you were the silent man of mystery.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
It's so funny. You and Abe were.
No, Abe was way more vocal than I was.
Abe, well, in my interactions, there you go. Abe to me was always a super quiet, reserved person, and then suddenly, like, I think maybe senior year, I noticed that Abe is.
Nah. I mean, maybe you just had to be around him. I had a couple of classes with Abe. Abe, I hope you don't mind us talking about you, by the way. Shout out to Abe. Come on the podcast one day. We'd love to have you. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we were in like freshman year art class together, and he was like cracking jokes, at least like around me. So like, I always thought he was a pretty like, outgoing kind of guy. We would play ball together in like gym class and stuff. Yeah, I mean, whatever. We all play basketball, I guess, at that point, but not to say that that makes you like a shining, outspoken person, but whatever. And then Mike, like you sat in front of me freshman year for like every class.
Mm-hmm.
Or a good amount of them. And you would just turn around and say like wildly inappropriate things.
And pretty much how I got through my day.
Yes, absolutely. And we've been stuck together ever since.
I pretty much remember meeting. I feel like I definitely met you more and got to know you more at like, our breakfast get-togethers before homeroom. It was kind of like the Breakfast Club, actually. That's how I see it. You guys always had
the movie. I actually went to the radio talk show first. Were you talking about the movie Breakfast Club?
No, not really. No,
No?
Neither of them.
Every time you use the Breakfast Club, like, does it have to be related to the movie? No, I don't think so. I think we could have been our own Breakfast Club.
Okay, so it's just like
wait, Mike, you do know there's a radio show.
Well, yeah, I know that too, but like, they don't own the words the Breakfast Club.
Okay. Whatever. We don't even have to get into that. Okay. So just general like high school experience. So like I think I was definitely the quiet. So first of all, for those of you who don't know, people thought I was Kamal probably like 6 months into freshman year. Because at first
all the teachers.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, people thought we were the same person. It was
Because
bad
all
enough.
black people look alike.
Yeah.
Bad enough we had the same initials, right? We were in the same homeroom all 4 years of high school, right? And then because everyone sat alphabetically, we sat in generally the same areas in the class. So like, but weren't we in opposite? We were both in honors, but we were in opposite honors classes. So like they
Yeah.
would see you and they'd be like, Kamal, and then they would see me and be like, Kamal? Like,
That's the funny thing. I don't think I've ever been. That's a weird thing because one is like a foot taller than me.
not a
So
foot.
I don't. Might as well be a foot taller than me.
At that, okay, freshman year of high school, I was probably only like 4 inches taller than you. Now I'm probably a good 6 or 7 inches taller than you.
Okay, well it feels like a foot, but
I'm 6'2", by the way.
I still don't know how they mix us up. And
I mean, black, round.
I guess yeah, we did have fat round faces. That is true.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't.
We still have fat round faces.
I have a cute face.
Well, hey, fat is not anti-cute. I'm just saying the cheeks are there. We're not getting rid of those. Yeah.
But the thing is, I was never confused for you though. I feel like it was always one way.
No, that's exactly because I technically didn't exist. Like, no one knew who I was because I said nothing. Real talk, I don't know if you guys remember this. It would be great if you did. Senior year, when we were doing like practicing of crossing the stage for graduation, you know, our dean would say the person's name, they would walk across, and like all the students were sitting in the audience and they would just go up whenever they're called, right? So, you know, certain people would get called up, like the popular kids would get called up and people would be like, oh yeah, whatever, like make noise. I swear to you, when I went up, when they called my name, there was an audible who? like multiple people were just like, who? And then like within that week, people were coming up to me like, you've been here all 4 years? And I'm like, yes, I've been here since day one, 2006, all 4 years. People did not know who I was at all.
But that wasn't only just you. There were quite a few people who I was like, oh, they were in our class? I didn't realize that. Or like, they've been here.
I don't think there was anyone that I saw. I was like, I've never seen this person before. But I was like kind of just in the background observing anyway. So like,
that was my goal for me to remain unknown. And I feel like I successfully accomplished that, like to a certain degree.
I disagree because
like
not even the dean wanted to get me in trouble because he knew what those circumstances would bring.
Possible danger for the entire school.
Yeah, I think there was a level of fear / respect. I don't know exactly how to word it, but yeah, that definitely existed.
I wish I had been more known, but I would like to say that because of you guys, I was able to maintain some kind of semblance of normalcy within the high school.
I'm glad.
Yeah, we reeled you in. I think you would have gone mad at some point.
Probably.
Right. Yeah. You were going on the path.
No comment on this. Okay, guys.
No comment.
But enough. Like, yeah, I like I said, like we were saying before, I swear I was completely oblivious to most things in high school, or like the things
also,
I felt.
Are you eating pancakes?
I do have a plate of pancakes.
Oh, you see, I knew you were gonna have pancakes.
Wait, how do you just pull those out? Like,
let's not even address it. I saw him moving over there, and I saw like a hint of a fork. I'm like, pancakes. We'll get into why that's relevant later, but go ahead. How were you oblivious?
I just felt like everything that I should know, especially in regards to our class, our grade level, I wasn't aware of. I wasn't completely in the know, or I found out about things way too late.
As far as like people, like other classmates?
More like just the gossip, the juice, everything that was going on around, like last to know, like I didn't get a chance to see the mystery sex tape that went around the school until
wait, that was an active student? I knew there was a sex tape of someone in another Catholic high school.
People wasn't there saw my tape?
No, no one wanted to see that.
Google Mike sex tape now. But you see, I don't even know. I swore there was a student at our school that had a tape.
Maybe I didn't know about that. I knew there was one. It was a
I know
girl from
there
like
was from
another.
another school, and yeah, somehow got like
Yeah,
spread throughout.
that got circulated through like all the Catholic high schools. Like everybody was talking about that.
But I know
We went to Catholic high school in the Bronx, by the way. We're not going to disclose what that location is.
Yeah, but based on that, I wasn't.
Rhymes.
But I could swear that there was another. At least there was a second one then, where it was with a student.
Do you recall like which year it happened?
No.
You guys,
I don't know about that.
This is why I don't think you were oblivious, because like it sounds like you were more, ear to the ground than I was, because all I was ever concerned with was getting booed at lunch, like when I got up to leave and go to my next period. So, and also worried about getting detention in the library, but I think oblivious is the wrong word for you, Kamal. I don't think it's, or Cam, sorry. I don't think that
you just go. Do I have to change it? Do I have to change it so
he's rebranding himself?
I'm rebranding
as Cam,
the artist formerly known as.
I think oblivious makes you sound. It makes you sound, like you were purposely turning a blind eye. I think you were just young and innocent and free.
So you were definitely, I think freshman year, you to me it felt like you were very intense and in the zone.
Oh, I was.
That's never changed.
I was.
Right.
I was reserved, and I was like, one thing, I was super shy. So like, I think freshman year it was really hard to make like connections.
I don't think you were really shy.
Well, to people I didn't know. Like I didn't have people I could really like substantially call friends that I hadn't already known going into the school. Like
that's fair.
I had friends from elementary, middle school that also went to the same school, and like those are my friends. Mm-hmm. People I got to know like freshman year in particular, they were like people who were I were comfortable with, or who like weren't mean, or like who I felt comfortable enough that I could like sit next to them at lunch and like shoot a few jokes, but I wouldn't say like couldn't call them my friends at that point.
That's fair. I think that's a fair statement. What I was gonna say is I know the reason you and I weren't friends freshman year, and probably for a good while, is because you wouldn't let me copy your homework.
Oh, really?
So,
oh yeah, I was.
Mike alluded to this earlier, like before school really started, and we would get to school early, and we'd be in the lunchroom at breakfast or whatever, breakfast club. That's where the bulk of the homework copying was happening, between like that breakfast time and like homeroom. And Kamal and I both being in honors, and Mike was in honors too, but I wasn't copying Mike's homework because I didn't have access to him like that early. But Kamal was like the only one, at least that I knew, that was not participating in this homework sharing. I'd like to make it a positive. This is homework sharing, okay?
Good for you. Good for you,
and
Kamal.
All the guys were like down. Like it wasn't like a one-sided thing. It was like, you did this, all right, swap that. It was very communal. And Kamal was like a dick about copying homework. And I was like, okay, all right, I see you. And besides the fact that people were constantly calling me Kamal, that just had its own friction right off the bat. So
I thought Kamal was participating.
Right, exactly. I probably did get by on like people thinking I was you for a little bit, at least for like the first month. But
no, I was super focused. Like I took like scholastically, like academics, super seriously in high school.
And you got the results that you wanted too. I mean, you were up there. You were up there. Up there.
Third place, second is the second loser, right?
I'm just saying you were up there. If you were up there, you were up there. Mike and I were not up there. Like we were pretty good.
I never was on any stage.
Right. So. I mean, I was like coasting the whole time. I could have done a lot better if I actually tried. but I just did enough to get by. But you were like on it from the jump.
You guys call yourself honor students.
Oh yeah. I mean, if they hear this now, they'll probably take my name off the wall.
I had a bad experience with copying homework where I thought I was trying to be a nice person to somebody in my homeroom, but then their dumbass got caught by the teacher in our period that, you know, she was copying my homework for. So I never
By the teacher?
Yeah, so like she was copying
That's
homework for our first period, and then somehow she must have shown the teacher that she was copying my work, and
that's no good.
Yeah, I just.
But I was also probably like super concerned about because like the implications for college and stuff like that. So doing anything against the rules, I was not a fan. I didn't want to be a part of because I, couldn't risk the.
I mean, I get that for sure. That's definitely the right mentality to have. I wasn't thinking about that. I was
thinking about it now. I could have afforded to take high school a little bit less seriously.
Absolutely.
I probably wouldn't have done it any different, but like it was another path that could have been taken.
For sure.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But like the obliviousness came because of this like recent drama that seemed to like be rising at our old school. And I was just like, and like some of the things that are being discussed, I had never even thought about it or like even noticed some of these things and everyone else is talking about it like, oh, it was so obvious. Like, yeah, that was like everybody knew about it. You guys were saying it.
Right.
That like,
well, yeah.
Like I didn't know
certain people.
I didn't know who half these people were. I still don't know. I don't know what you give me like last names and I'm like, I don't know who that is.
I take it back. Maybe you were oblivious.
Yeah.
So no, I think in that sense.
Oh,
for sure,
wait. I know who one of them. The one with the H was like had like a gray mullet.
Did you say the one with AIDS?
H.
H. Yeah.
She had like a gray mullet.
Yes.
Okay, now I know. Okay.
I mean, that's not even like shocking news though. That's just like take a look and you can figure out what that's about.
I didn't even know who you were talking about till just now. I just like started thinking about
I think people. We can maybe put. Do we want to put out like the context of what we're talking about? Like, is that too touchy? Okay, we'll just move on. There were certain people that we found out things about. Some of us knew like during, because to me it was very obvious. And then there's other things like with the times that we're in now. This I think we can kind of speak on a little bit more. There are people like we were mentioning before, like people being very vocal about the times and like their opinions. And just again, we were coming from a Catholic high school where they tend to have very conservative thoughts. So now it's coming out that certain staff members had specific anti-Black politics.
Anti-vax.
Anti-vax.
Just a lot of delved in a lot of
I would say insensitive and ignorant comments, in my opinion. Like especially as an educator. As an educator of young minds, I think it's like pretty insensitive and ignorant. But okay, so I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, how have you guys been dealing with like what's going on, in this time?
In case anybody in the future who's hearing this doesn't know, there have been mass protests throughout the country. If you haven't been awake for the last 3 weeks.
Under a rock.
Right. If you've been under a rock or if you live in the Midwest, there have been several protests happening across the world.
Or Alaska.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like it's been pretty crazy. I think what I was reading something earlier about how like the at least what people are saying is the reason for this being so big and impactful, as far as like people getting on board and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement and being active, is the fact that they literally had nothing else to do, nothing else to take their attention away from it. Do you guys like kind of see it that way, or do you think it's a combination of other things? Or
I think it's a lot. I think this is this is just the culmination, just everything striking at the a particular at this time. Just like, was it? It's 5 months away from the election. I think being isolated for so long has people wanting good reasons to
Go
be
outside and
active.
fuck shit up.
Yeah, down in that. The summer is coming, and we know that, like, people, especially like when we're talking before, like when it first started getting warmer, like that first day that I think like that first day it really was nice out. People started going outside and completely started ignoring distancing. Like, remember there was that story about how people were just like flooding to the park.
Yeah.
When
I
these
mean,
parks
I wanna yes, people were, but from what I was seeing, it was wealthy white New Yorkers that were mostly participating in these types of things, like having street festivals outside of their buildings or flooding the parks. Like the images that came out and like a little bit of the controversy, at least again from what I saw, where it was like, you know, cops were going out to Central Park and handing out, you know, gloves and masks to people sitting in clustered groups in Central Park. And if you look at the images, it's majority white people. If you see the video footage of like people like having like dance parties, it seemed like a DJ was like playing, having like some sort of block party.
It's like
Majority
Coachella.
white people, right? So like, not to say, because there was also in Brooklyn there was someone having like a secret bar party, and those were people of color. Sure,
there were
not
people.
saying that
Yeah,
that wasn't happening.
there was like a secret. There was like a outside. People had like a street party, a block party, basically on the streets also, like in
But the
Brooklyn.
way that those events were policed were drastically different.
Oh yeah, the picture of them, like the cops actually like handing the mask to the people like sitting crowding around each other.
And then the video that came out like the next day of like 3 black guys like in front of their building, just like standing, and then one of them like getting like physically assaulted by the officer for being outside. Like completely different, you know. And like, and this, keep in mind, this was before George Floyd.
Yeah.
Like this was happening.
But like my point about it was that it's so like generally that it's getting warmer and people tend to be like, people get more like active. People get like a lot more reckless. Like we hear about like people, like we hear the stories and like we hear the like this the expression about people wilding out in the summer.
Yeah, I mean that's just like a
cruel
thing.
Summer.
People get cruel summer. Cheap Kanye plug. I mess with it though. I think that people when it gets hot outside, people want to go out. They get a little crazy. I don't know why the heat does that to people. I don't know if there's a scientific reason for why.
Well, I mean, have you guys heard that old like psychology thing about how like
I'm gonna say no right now.
What?
I'm just gonna go ahead and say no. I haven't heard that.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you have, but it's an example that people use to show like how causation works and like how people think it works. Whereas like, so they did like a study of like how crime goes up, and in correlation with crime going up, the amount of ice cream sales goes up at the same time. But really, like, and so you would think they're correlated, but really it's just because more crime happens in the summer.
Yeah. I mean, kids are out of school. Not that kids are like inherently criminals, but I mean, just like there's just more opportunity
like,
for.
Come on.
For
but like back to the idea of why this Floyd tragedy like seemed to spark things. I think it was the fact that it was like building from the Aubrey. Am I pronouncing it right?
Ahmaud Aubrey
killing. It kind of just built up to it, and I don't know. I think it might have people. It just might have been too much. I don't know. Maybe people's like it almost like people's tolerance and like numbness to it finally like wore down, and they finally started feeling it again. Like the video was so visceral.
Yeah. Like what was the catalyst? Like, you know.
But that's the thing, though. I think that's the thing, though. people felt like, I feel like you felt like you saw that he was so helpless, and like this was so like clearly wrong that there was nothing you can do but empathize and feel outraged by it. I
So
think it,
because there was the video.
yeah, but but the thing is that there have been so many videos of people just innocent.
Right.
I think just a combination of things, people wanting to be productive and active in a meaningful way, kind of taking back control of their lives, because a lot of it has been taken like away by the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and there's just this threat that like this political, I don't know, boulder that could potentially coming this way for so many people. Just the way people, I think the way this crisis has been handled, and how so many like average working class people have been ignored or taken advantage of during this,
Yeah.
that it's just this building of exploitation.
Yeah.
And this was just like the final straw for many.
I think it'd be interesting to because I mean, I might be missing on it, but like before this major wave of protests, obviously Black Lives Matter had steam in between, but the one that really comes to mind that happened beforehand was after Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
I would be interested to think about what that time had in similarity to this current time, and kind of like what if there was any like similarities between the two that kind of sparked this these mass protests.
I don't know. That would
What
be.
I mean, what I think, what strikes as very different for me between those two times, um, when Mike Brown died, or when Mike Brown was killed, I had roommates that essentially took the position of like, well, maybe if he didn't, or what was he doing before, and like asking those types of questions, and it made me uncomfortable, like having to explain why, like even if someone, let's say, and I don't even know what the end result of the investigation was, as far as like if he committed some crime beforehand that justified the like the police being called or whatever. But if he stole something from that convenience store, the punishment is not death. Like at no point has anyone been like, oh, if you steal something, you die right away. No court. You don't go to court. You don't see a judge. Like, so the fact that he died, like that's the point that they were missing. It was like, you realize that like you can, if Mike Brown was arrested and put in jail for stealing something from a store, there's no like big Black Lives Matter thing, because it's like he committed a crime and then was put in jail for the crime or whatever would have transpired. But he died, and he was not supposed to die.
Well, the thing was with that one, that's complicated because like there's like reports about him like lunging at the. I don't remember too much of the specifics of it. But the thing was, there have been so many deaths like this, where an unarmed innocent person or non-threatening person of color was killed by the police, or just even not even have to be person of color, but generally person of color being killed by the police. That I'm sure there would have been another one, like I think the Eric Gardner incident was a major one. That Garner. So I'm
not saying that the Black Lives Matter wouldn't have ever happened, because like it was bound to happen. I'm saying that like this guy's argument, my former roommate's argument of like if he didn't do this or whatever, like it's totally invalid, because if it was a situation where he was found guilty of something and like he wouldn't have died, like the fact that he died is what made this become the story. Like if he just went to jail, there's no story, and we would have been waiting for the next, maybe a Eric Garner or Tamir Rice or whatever the case may be. But like the fact remains, and that's what I was saying is like the big difference with George Floyd. It's like I don't think anyone there. I've seen a little bit. I feel like they're mostly like trolls on the internet or on Instagram or whatever. Like they're saying, "Oh, well, what happened like 2 minutes before?" No one's showing the video from before, but like we predominantly everyone's like, "Yeah, this was fucked up. He shouldn't have died like that." So, and I think that's the difference. There was too much gray area, or there was a lot of gray area before.
I don't know. I feel like there were so many incidents though before this that were like we've had these incidents where people were gunned down, where the cops actually were entering their house, entered the wrong house, or not even the wrong house, entering their house without justification,
entering the right house,
and gunned them down.
Mm-hmm.
So like I just feel like this was just like you said, it was this uprising was bound to happen. It's just that this was just the one. It built from the Aubrey thing and the Taylor murder as well.
Right.
Breonna Taylor. And it just
I think there might be, like, I don't know for sure, but I think there might be evidence to say that, the coronavirus pandemic basically or was a helpful circumstance for
sure.
kind of explode again.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to take away from the fact that, all of this is about egregious and over the top brutal police force on, people of color. But I'm just saying, like, I wonder if the pandemic, kind of unfolded a window basically for these protests also to happen. So, and then, you have a lot of people saying like, oh, they're disregarding like social distancing and what's the mask use like, but I mean, at the same time, like you still have to remember that like, this is out of desperation. This is out of, we are like literally our situation is so bad that we need to, that those things don't matter anymore. Like we're protesting for literally for our lives. So
I agree actually.
And when it comes to that about like people, so like these protests have brought up a lot of the inherent hypocrisy that exists in this country when it comes to in my opinion, in terms of the ideas of patriotism, what it means to be an American, and Americans' rights, the application of your First Amendment, and like this common idea of there being two Americas is no more evident in all of this two-faced talk and hypocrisy when it comes to the protests. Like all the people bring up how there were people who were storming state houses and state capitol buildings, overtaking them with guns, blocking traffic, protesting in mass numbers. And the people who supported this, a majority of these people who were protesting were largely white, from what I've seen. And they were calling out for freedom, talking about how the government has no place in limiting the way they behave, in the way they act, and how they live their lives. Interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure you'll find a strong correlation between those people who are protesting that way and those who seem to find reasons to speak out against the protesting going on now.
For sure. Yeah. And we know this though. Like we know that this is a situation for the world that we live in because like you said, like there's like these two different versions of America. There's two different versions of the police that we see. Like when we see a black man, an innocent black man walking, sleeping, jogging, doing any mundane activity, they're likely to die, or it's a possibility that they will die. But you can have a mass shooter who's a white Caucasian, a Caucasian male who gets arrested with no injuries. He gets, what is it, Burger King?
Yeah,
Like,
the shooting in Charleston. He
right,
gunned down 9 people and was given. They dropped. Yeah, they dropped
right.
him off to eat. They like got him something food to eat before they brought him to.
Right.
Brought him to.
So this like kind of
Yeah.
duality of America, like, I mean, it's like
It's
as
everywhere.
American as American Pie, like
Yeah,
it's like this
yeah,
that's been the case.
yeah.
So
Suddenly, this is not the right type of protesting.
right,
Even though most of the, I'll say almost all the protests that have happened, starting with like in Minneapolis,
hmm
have been not being peaceful. They've been unarmed.
right.
Whereas the COVID
Open up our salons and
the lockout
crap. Yeah,
protests where a bunch of people
straps,
open carrying tanks and
militia
armored
status.
Humvee militia. Yeah, these
Yeah,
local militias. That instinctually is like,
but they don't fear for their lives at that point.
yeah,
I
some
wonder why.
for some reason.
Yeah.
Like in regards to the one of the most frustrating parts about this is how the rioting and looting that have occurred along with these peaceful protests have somehow been co-opted to an extent what the narrative has been. I think that's a major disservice to this discussion. I find it funny that seems to always be the case.
Yeah.
That like when especially people of color are expressing injustice that they're feeling and and utilizing their full rights as Americans,
Mm.
the media and particularly more conservative and I'll just say racist people will change the narrative. They'll change the subject. So these protests have been largely peaceful, but they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to fully address it, or even those who support it don't support the change behind it that needs to happen. So they'll discuss the rioting or looting, or the biggest mistake I think is or referring to the protest as rioting or looting, which is not the case. This is protests where people, optimistic people, and people who are selfish and either don't care about what the message is or who are purposely trying to undermine it are rioting and looting.
And I think
these are two separate things.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I mean, Mike, you go, but I want to comment on that if you had something to say, Mike.
I was just gonna say, I think obviously like I believe that, they are two separate things. And you should if you're an educated person, if you're somebody who supports Black Lives Matter and the movement in general, like you should be able to distinguish the fact that there's peaceful protesting going on, and I'm sure that there's unwelcome acts of violence and stuff like that going on. But what I think is interesting about it is like all of a sudden, like, and it kind of, I kind of agree, like, it does it have something to do with the fact that this is protests for the lives of Black people. But I mean, in our country in and of itself, we hold dear these rights to protest. These people that are armed and bringing guns and stuff, they hold the right to bear arms dear to themselves. But the history of our country is built on nothing but violent protests. So like, I'm not sure when it became so like, oh, if you want to protest in this country, like it has to be completely peaceful, and that's what people's expectations are. By and large, a lot of the people that have issue or take issue, I feel like with the distinction between peaceful protest now and rioting and looting and stuff, are some of them are people that want to back the right to fly the Confederate flag. What was the Confederacy about? Violent protests to what the nation.
Violent protests to the extent of literal war.
Yeah, but then somehow that was totally okay. That made sense for our country's history, and we don't really question that. We don't say why wasn't it? Well, it was a peaceful protest, but we understand their message, and their message has statues built to it, and that's okay. But so
I just wanted to say like real quick, and just like we'll probably move on from it, unless Kamal, you have something like really pressing to say, but we've kind of been on this for a little while. I just wanted to say, like, as a person who I'm directly impacted by the looting because I work in retail. The brand that I worked for was heavily looted in New York, and it's going to be besides the fact that we've been closed due to COVID. On top of that, now we have a lot of repairs and recovery to do based off of all the looting that's been happening. So like, it literally threatens my livelihood in an indirect sense. Like I wasn't directly in danger, but like if the company can't recover from this financially, which a lot of companies won't, I mean, not because of the protests and the looting, but because of COVID and being out of business for 2-3 months and all these other factors. But let's say, the worst case scenario, the company might be like, hey, we can't afford to pay you anymore. We got to let you go. So this literally impacts me. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the looting happening, I kind of took, I guess, like a defensive stance of like, why is this happening? Like, this shouldn't be the direction that we're going in, especially for like, and like what Kamal was saying, like the media is just going to eat this up and make this what it's about. But then, I've just been seeing a lot of people talk about the looting and why it's happening, and just thinking about it myself and other conversations that I've had. Like, these people that are looting, they're not looting because, obviously it is two separate reasons, but you have to kind of take a step back and be like, why is it that they're in the situation where they feel this is the opportunity where they can actually go and get these things that they would not have had access to, that they can probably make money off of because they haven't been working for the past 2 months. Like, the people that are looting are the people that have been systemically oppressed in various different ways because of inaccess to jobs, or just they're not able to function in society the way that a upper middle class person might be able to. Like, it's not like, for the most part, these people are looting because they feel like, I can come up off of this. Like, this is my time to like financially get right. Like, they're coming at it from a point of desperation, and probably some, just being an opportunist as well. But like, at least for me to rationalize it and like not focus on it as much, it's like, these people are in a situation where they're doing this out of like a financial and an economic need. The same way that these billionaires have been trying to get all these loans and cash out during the time based off of COVID, like, they're not doing anything different. People have made the comment that these billionaires have looted the economy to a much higher degree than anyone who's stealing a pair of pants from your local favorite brand. So like, you can miss me with the looting is wrong. Like, obviously, like, stealing is wrong, but like, look at the reason why this is happening. And I think it's like not even a point of conversation at that point.
I'm torn about this because, and I think for one point, I think a disservice has been done, because like, I feel like right now there's so much like passion and like the call for action and like call for justice, for just in this country to be done, that there's almost this like absolutism going on, where conversation and like some context can't be allowed. I completely agree. I understand that there's like, I agree that it's so ironic that people are so offended, seem to be so offended by the looting going on, but corporate theft and exploitation has been going on for decades, and like this capitalist system that we're in just seems to feed itself. And it just par for the course. And as a result of that, a lot of times poor people, working class people, people of color tend to be the victims of this. With that being said, I think it's very possible. Like, I think you can be completely pro-black for this movement, for the protests, and say that the violence and the looting is wrong. You could say the looting of the neighborhood is wrong. Um, Looting of these higher end stores and things like that is wrong. Because like you said, there are people who work at these stores. Right. Their livelihood depends on it, and it's you can like both things can exist at the same time. You can be victimized by the system you're living in, and see this as an opportunity to advance yourself in this time, just as any other capitalist corporate system has allowed for, and still be doing something that's violent and hurting not only your community but people similar to you in similar situations who are working retail in dead end or low paid jobs and things of that nature. I think these things can be had and these things can be said, but people, like, how do I say this? I saw a post online saying that if you mention the rioting or the looting, you're not for the cause, or you're a part of the problem. I think statements like that are dangerous and not.
I mean, I agree. I get what you're saying, but real quick, I just want to say there is one bit of looting that I think absolutely needs to be pointed out. Probably two. One of them is the group of white dudes that walked out of Patagonia with all those surfboards. Fucking hilarious. Like, those guys were just out there, like, for people that are calling out. And the other one is the girl that was walking out of the Cheesecake Factory with a full strawberry cheesecake in her hand, like, without a care in the world. Hilarious.
Did she get that
from? From the Cheesecake Factory. Like, they looted the Cheesecake Factory.
No, I know, but that was like what they were asking. Like, the reporter.
Oh, right, yeah. He was like, I don't.
Like, look at this woman walking out of the Cheesecake Factory.
I'm not sure if she paid for that or not. Yeah. So, like, that's the type of looting that I think if you're going to talk about looting, absolutely should be talking about. I'll just put that out there because I think it's hilarious. But otherwise, yeah, come on. I agree with you. Like, you shouldn't make it that, like, some type of ultimatum where, like, if you put any criticism around it, like, you're anti or you're against the cause or the movement.
It's funny because that's partly doing the same thing that the people were trying to, I guess, enlighten or bring this attention to, are doing the same thing. Like, when you say that you're, by criticizing America, you're being unpatriotic or something like that. It's like, no, you can appreciate and be for a movement and still see areas where it needs to be improved, and still see areas where it's imperfect, and saying that this movement is strong and it's powerful. But you're in terms of, you can lose the battle of optics, which is an important part of any social movement, by being a movement that just blanket condones looting and violence because capitalism.
Right.
Or because,
I think another example of that is like the Biden thing that's happening right now, where I think people that are 100% going to vote for Biden simply because they don't want to see Trump in office, a lot of those people, especially like people of color that I've follow and have relationships with, they are still criticizing openly, like, Biden's deficiencies as a person, and they're getting hate for it. And even like celebrities or like comedians that I follow on Instagram, if they make any type of criticism or negative comment towards Biden, it's like,
vote for Trump.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's like you were saying, like, two things can be correct, right? Like, Biden can be the clear correct choice,
evil,
right? But he can also be kind of dumb sometimes. Like, both things are true, and that's not to say that we're not going to make the right decision, or you guys aren't going to make the right decision. I can't vote currently. We don't have to get into that. not to say that, people aren't going to make the right decision, but I think people should be allowed to critique whoever they're giving their vote to, especially if they're giving their vote to them. They should be allowed to give that critique.
Yeah, and I think that's just an important point that we need to and I get it because like criticism can often, I don't know, particularly in like black led, like in like movements led by people of color, critiques can come from the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess it's a defensive mechanism that, like, by criticizing it, you feel like you're what else is being said is being undermined.
Right.
And I don't know. Maybe that's just like the way public discourse exists in this country, that like complexity can't exist. It has to be, people can't think in shades of gray, they only can think in black and white. So right. I can understand where, like, if I'm all in on this, I can understand why by you mentioning these other things that may be true but may be detrimental in a smaller way, you see that as hurting the whole thing, because people can't see the protest as a generally good thing with some like small deficiencies. They either see it only as good or all bad. Either you're pro-black, pro-BLM, pro the protests, or you're reinforcing racism and
you're voting for Trump, basically.
White supremacy. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something that needs to change. I don't know. It won't.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't see it getting much better. But I don't know. This thing has changed a lot in terms of how I view things. Like, it's still some of the same old bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I see a lot more. I feel like there's a lot more support for this as a whole. Like, I feel like there's a lot more support for this than like I was seeing 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like 3 years ago, behind other really tragic, obvious, brutal killings by the police. So,
police.
Yeah, let's end on brutal murders and transition to something a little bit lighter. I think something that I've seen people talking about also is like dating or being in relationships during quarantine. I just want to get you guys' input on that a little bit, because I think we have like a pretty good mix of those experiences. Like, I'm single, so I've been going through quarantine completely solo dolo. Kamal, you have a girlfriend, but you're not a living girlfriend. And then Mike, you have pretty much been like sharing a space with your girlfriend. So for you guys, what has that been like?
Ugh. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, for me, it's been great because, like, I personally, like, I know that I would probably go crazy being alone, and or not like being alone, but it's nice to have.
You're right.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have somebody to go through this situation with, because it's not one of learned experience yet. So
yeah.
It's kind of been really, really helpful to have a significant other. I mean, that has nothing to do with what you were originally saying, like interracial relationships.
No,
because my girlfriend is white, but
we can talk about that too.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, my essential take has been that it's been nice, and I know other people out there have seen like kind of broken quarantine and social distancing in order to be with significant others and stuff. I think at some point, I think they I feel for them and I understand like why certain people are doing it. I think in the beginning, I was more on the fence, and I know like at one point we went to see my girlfriend's family, and I was kind of upset about it just because, you know, I felt like it was not an essential trip, and you know, it was in a high case area, and so you know, I just didn't think that was necessary. But as I go through this more and more, I see what it could be like for people that, you know, might have not have had anybody from the beginning.
Right.
To
I want to circle back
with.
real quick to
Yeah.
why Mike clarified that his girlfriend was white. I had previously mentioned talking about like interracial dating because we also have like a pretty mixed experiences with dating outside of our races. And I did want to talk about that too, but I just wanted to like kind of segue into first just how quarantine has been for you. So that's why he clarified that his girlfriend was white. It wasn't to stress that he is not interested in other races, because that's just how it sounded to me. I was like, I didn't mention race yet.
She is actually white, so
yeah, she's white with a capital H. Great. She's white.
Like, so like white brethren, you can be okay. I have.
Yes. Come on, what's up? What do you view? Have you broken quarantine?
No, I haven't, which it's been really hard.
Okay. I'm surprised. Actually, I shouldn't be surprised because you're like super militaristic almost.
I'm militaristic. I wouldn't go that far.
Militaristic's not the word I want, but like structured, maybe. I don't know.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I'm like that structured. Or just I don't know. It's been a challenge because I don't live. I haven't seen my girlfriend in person since, what was it? I think it was like the beginning of March.
Oh my God.
Middle of March.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me, it's been a test of like self control and like discipline, but it's just out of protection, like not even for myself necessarily, but more for her. Like she has family and stuff like that, and like I don't know. Also out of like fear, I don't know what I would, because I don't know what I would do if like we were visiting frequently or visiting, and God forbid, like
one of you had it, got cross contaminated,
family. And then like they got seriously sick, or they spread it to or one of us spread it to the other's family or family member or something like that. Like I would be.
Is that grounds for breaking up?
Is it grounds for breaking up?
Yeah. Let's say you broke quarantine, gave your girlfriend COVID. She breaks up with you because she got sick. Like, would you be like, you know what? I get it. Or
I feel
you be like, it's not my fault.
Didn't break up with you.
I feel like if all the cards are on the table, then I feel like it would be unfair. Like I feel like if like it's known that you're going to visit them, they know that like either like you were sick in the past, or you are still recovering from it, or like you hadn't been tested.
Neither one of you has been tested, but neither one of you is showing symptoms. So like both of you are fair game. Like it could be coming from either one.
I mean, like I feel like if they know in advance that you're visiting and they're comfortable with it, I feel like that would be unfair to end the relationship over in that sense, because the risk that's being taken.
Right. I think like if you don't, like, it's just like with like herpes or whatever. Like if you know that you've been around people that had it and you don't disclose that information, but you like say, hey, let's hang out, I think then that's like, okay, why would you put my life directly in danger and not tell me? But I'm just thinking, like, what if somebody died? Like,
but that's the thing, though. That's what I don't know. Herpes is a bad comparison because you're not going to die from it.
All right,
But
AIDS, you want to kick it up a notch?
okay, yeah. Then, but that's more. Yeah, I think that's a way fairer
Big one.
example because COVID is like a life-threatening potential illness.
I don't know. I've seen that doctors recommend that you wear a mask when you have sex with your partner.
Have you seen that really?
Yep. Which I ain't gonna do that.
Right.
Guys, but how do you do the deed and wear a mask?
I was gonna make the joke that Mike seems like the type of person to wear masks in the bedroom just to
to
get
spice things up.
TBC to tell me. I do that on the regular.
But I had these masks in my closet before this happened.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
let me tell you, they are not N95s. They are leather.
Mike's like, welcome to the party.
You ain't getting in unless you have COVID. We're talking risky stuff here.
The higher the risk, the more into it you are.
The better it is.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's
people are dying.
But actually, that is a good thing to bring up, though. It's interesting. I don't know what's like, because like obviously, like I said, I haven't seen her since before this started, so I don't know like what it'll mean in terms of being physical post it.
Right? Could you make it through COVID together?
Do I think we could have made it through COVID together?
Yeah, like
is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, are you gonna, because you haven't seen each other, so you're gonna, is this gonna be the make or break?
No. Is this going to be the make and break? No, it's not going to.
Like not because we were talking about giving the partner COVID, but I mean like the fact that you've been apart since the beginning of March.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but I'm sure they've been in contact.
Yeah,
a lot. It's not like
so I guess yeah.
I mean,
I'm trying to start some drama. Sorry.
No, it's more like it won't, like it's not something that would like break us up. It's just something that's like a challenge just to deal with. I think just like like we're talking about, the time period we're in is just super stressful, and like being apart and like not having that
intimacy.
Yeah, the intimacy of just being
just accessible to each other, I guess.
Around each other, like person to person, just makes that one more stressful thing, just because like you can't like confide in each other the same ways. And then like obviously, yes, like sex is not happening.
You're not clapping cheeks.
No.
no cheeks being clapped during this quarantine.
Being clapped.
I mean, that might be like a spiritual journey for you, like maybe you'll grow from it.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a practice. Well, I don't know. I've done like long distance before, so that's not
that's
good.
true.
So I've always hated that. So
I think
I once went 22 years without
I did. Yeah. Yeah, was it 22? 21? Yeah, I went 21 years without having sex. Or something like that. 21, 22. I think it's 22.
Now you're a deviant.
Right, basically. Now I'm the weirdo. But yeah, I think rolling off of that, me being also just like for context, like I've been single for a while, so it's not like I went into this any different than how I have been living for the past 4 years. Yeah. So like I've been fine. Like I'm used to being by myself, and I don't really have a problem with being alone. Like there are definitely days where it's like I'm bouncing off the walls. Like I've had like a good 2 panic attacks being home alone and just like just driving myself crazy to a point, and for like external like things that are happening. But like those things would have happened quarantine or not. So like it wasn't a big thing for me. I generally don't go out that much. I'm not like a social butterfly in any way, shape, or form. So like,
oh man, yeah.
I've been chilling, and I've been lucky. Like I've been getting paid, even though I don't have to physically go into work. So it hasn't been a struggle for me. Like I'm sure there are people who were not getting paid and were having a lot harder time than I was, and whether they were alone or not. But yeah, I mean, I think probably would have been nice to have a little company. I would have taken it. I definitely wasn't gonna deny it if it was an option. But like, I think, pretty chill. I was cool with it. Besides those rough spots, we are like at like an hour mark, maybe just a little bit over. You guys have anything you want to just like throw out or talk about? Anything that was on your mind?
Do we want to like continue, like actually talk about the interracial part of things,
Yeah. Oh
or
yeah. We
do
mentioned
we
it, so
want
we
to,
can.
or do we want to just?
I mean, if you guys, yeah, we brought it up, so let's talk about it, and then like maybe after that we'll like kind of wrap up, and we'll go like that.
Yeah.
Kamal, you want to start? What's your experience? Oh, also, just like the question was just like, given the context of you know, all the social unrest and kind of the tension between Black people and the rest of the world and all these other things. I had asked these guys like, we've all dated outside of our race, and if you had ever come up into a situation where the person you're dating has had like kind of like questionable comments or anything that was a little bit out there. So you guys go ahead.
What do I say?
I just always
Nah, it
so.
wasn't.
Kamal's dated a lot of snow bunnies, so I feel like he's got to have some stories.
I haven't. Wait, first thing, it hasn't been a lot. It's
You've
been
dated more snow bunnies
a
than
couple.
you've dated a couple.
What do
A
we
couple.
mean by snow bunnies?
White
White women.
Why?
I just wanted to make sure I understood.
No, we mean piles of drugs. That's what we mean by snow bunnies.
Yeah.
But no, as I just find it's funny to like think about it, because I'm just like thinking like how it would have been like having conversations in this climate with like exes.
Mm-hmm. Do you have one in mind? You don't obviously have to say their name. I'm just wondering
Yeah,
because I'm gonna guess later off camera who it is.
but yeah, um, it's just interesting because she I guess I would consider her
This.
family I would not exactly conservative,
Uh,
but
Oh my lord.
what?
No, I'm just kidding.
Like,
Not exactly conservative.
not I don't know. I'm
Never
trying.
wanna
I can't think of the right word for it. I just think this time would have been very interesting hearing their opinions, because there have been moments during like conversations and interactions where our perspectives have been different.
Well,
and
different
you guys,
perspective, not a bad thing.
do you guys
Yeah.
ever like? Did it ever get like a real argument about it, or was it just like, oh, I'm acknowledging that you think differently about
There
this?
was one discussion. Well, there was an argument that kind of stuck in my head, like during the rest of our relationship, in terms of um, family and their feelings on race and
Mhm.
their commentary on race.
Did it relate to you in particular?
Yeah, it was directed toward me.
Okay.
I'm just curious. I'm not sure how much she had considered. Like, she was aware that she was dating a Black man.
You think she didn't know?
What I say,
What you're saying is she doesn't see color.
No, I'm saying she didn't take in consideration when these kind of discussions were happening, and like,
That she was dating a Black man. Okay.
or certain comments were being made.
She was absent.
Like in front of you?
Yeah.
So like you met her family and it was just like, does anyone realize there's a Black person sitting here? A Black man sitting here.
It's just like I said, I'm being super vague, and that's kind of making it like
Yes.
unclear. But like there definitely been moments where I've realized that like we're different
Okay.
on the
Fair
basis
enough.
of race, or I was reminded that we were different on the basis of race.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. What about you, Mike?
I mean, my experience has been pretty limited dating outside of my race, but one specific girlfriend of the past comes to mind. Um, I don't feel like, I don't really feel like the differences were like super palpable necessarily. I think it kind of it definitely affected like our ability like to stay together long term, which I guess is a pretty big challenge. But the reasons like for us not being together today definitely weren't really like reflecting the difference in race necessarily. Um, but I was always I always tried to remain um, cognizant of the fact that we were different, and that you know she had a different background, different lifestyle than I did. Um, I don't think we ever really talked about it like too much in detail. We definitely had conversations and stuff, but I mean, from what I remember, it was really more. Our differences were really more about like learning about each other, kind of. I know like when I was dating her, for example, like I really was kind of there for her, and got to experience like the really like challenging um experience that some black women go through with um growing out like natural hair.
Mhm.
um and I know like just like I experienced that firsthand with her. So that was just something that like we talked about, and kind of like I kind of just got to really experience. um but I know that I think about it today, like um her family probably, not that they wouldn't have accepted me necessarily, but like I was definitely not what they had planned for their daughter in terms of like getting married and stuff, and just knowing like who she married today,
Mhm.
um a black man. It was not to say that like she
It's
couldn't
not a
have got
competition,
married.
Michael. All right.
What?
It's
Yeah,
not a
no,
competition.
it's not a competition. I'm just saying that
Facts are facts.
it might not have been really difficult if we had still been
Yeah.
together. Like for
Did you
that
ever
to,
get white boy hate?
did I ever get white boy hate? No,
Like anyone is like, what's this white boy doing with this fine black queen over here?
no,
Huh?
no. And
Okay.
I spent a good amount of time with her in in like a major city. So I mean,
Yeah.
I never really experienced that. Maybe it was just because I didn't really like I wasn't in certain situations like that, but
Yeah.
where that could have been a comment or something. But no, I mean I met like an older family member, and they were really nice to me and stuff. It was also during college, so I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody like always takes those
Took it
relationships
serious. Yeah.
seriously. Yeah. So
That's fair.
um but yeah, I mean I feel like at some points I felt a little out of place or awkward, just because I knew that people were probably looking at us saying like white guy, black woman, and um but I tried not to like bring attention to myself in that way.
Yeah.
Did you feel like she, um, did you think that, do you ever feel like she was aware of it and like kind of were trying to push that point? Or like she ever wanted you to like be aware of it? Like did she make it known to you that like the dynamic that you guys have? Like in terms of things
Not
she
that I
might have said or
Yeah, not that I remember really. I mean, maybe I've just
Which I
maybe I've
think it's like a good and a bad thing though. I feel like, you should be able to operate in a world where, like, ideal situation, like you should be able to date whoever you want and not have to discuss, hey, I'm black, this is my experience, you're this other thing, that's your experience. We have to discuss the finer points and details of how the conflict may,
Yeah.
like in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to talk about those things. So like I kind of think it's nice that you were able to not do that, but then like I feel like in the world that we live in and like just the way that things can go wrong, like I just feel a lot of times you have to have those conversations. And I think for me, I never we never spoke about it in the terms of like how does our difference in race affect us moving forward. But I it was always present to me, not because of her or her beliefs or anything like that, but because of more family related things where I was like, okay, I know, and especially because this is a person that I knew well before dating them, it was kind of like, well, I already know what your family's about, so I already have this feeling that I probably don't fit into like what Mike was saying, like the ideal equation. Not to say that this person wouldn't have like fought for our relationship and like for us to stay together, but I was always aware of the fact that I wasn't the ideal candidate as far as like their family was concerned. And that was definitely something that, because just the way that I think, I'm always thinking like 5-10 years down the road, like how do I see this ending or how do I see this developing, which is kind of a fault, but whatever. And I think it's just something I was definitely aware of. And I don't want to say like we didn't break up because of that. But it was definitely something that was in my mind. It's something that I wouldn't say we ever struggled with it, but I think if the relationship had played out longer, it would have definitely been a conversation, because I had feelings about it from the jump.
In terms of the interaction between you and like the family dynamic and how that would have
Yeah,
manifested going forward.
yeah, and again, not to say that the person I was dating wouldn't have been supportive and like supported me throughout that process, but like, do I want to enter into that type of environment where I'm like trying to prove myself as worthy and like you know that it's just an obstacle. Not again, it's not saying that I wouldn't have, if things were going great and I really was 100% wanted to commit and everything like that. I probably would have been like, hey, like me and you are in it, like fuck everybody else. But we didn't get to that point, so I guess
Yeah,
you know.
I was gonna say just thinking about my own situation, like I feel like I was still too young to even bring my relationship to a point where like those things would have come along, and talk about race would have even like been a point of either contention or a conversation that we had or whatever. um I just remember it as being too young to even like hold down a relationship like
Mm-hmm.
in a mature way. So um I think I would probably look at it differently through my 28-year-old eyes
Right.
as compared to my, whatever I was then, a wee lad.
Very true.
Just to clarify something, I don't want it to seem like my
X was racist.
yeah I definitely don't want it to seem like, honestly honestly race wasn't really much of a factor in our relationship. Like it wasn't something that
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
Did she marry a white man after you, or date a white man after you?
I don't remember.
If it's who I'm thinking about, I feel
I
like she,
don't
but I don't remember either.
but I don't if it's I'm not sure who you're thinking of, but
The
I
one that
wasn't
I met,
sure.
the one that I met.
I don't know who I don't know who she ended up with.
Okay, don't worry
I
about it. I
don't
think I
I
think she did because I remember us having a conversation about it, and I was just thinking like and it's kind of similar. I don't know if it's the same situation for Mike, but like I was just thinking about like, all right, you date someone outside of your race, and then do you have
go
like
straight
a
opposite.
like,
That's
like is there a black lash or a white lash, and you just go right back to,
I don't.
What would be really fucked up is if they like went and dated like say my ex-girlfriend went and broke up with me and then dated another white guy.
Well,
no,
that's exactly like you.
Then you know it's you.
Well, then wait, it was always you. I mean, if anything, it's better that it was. I don't know. Is it better if it was because of like your personality and their interaction with you over like the race of you? Is that better or worse? I don't know. But like, so it wasn't that she was racist. Like I said, it wasn't really discussed because I don't think it was ever a factor. But like when it came to our family, there was that one incident that kind of reminded me of it, and like I kind of started to like look for those maybe cultural differences between, if even not just me and her, but maybe us and between me and her family.
Right.
And that's just something that stuck with me throughout the rest of our time.
Cool. All right, so I guess let's just wrap it up real quick because we're approaching like kind of an hour 15-ish here, maybe an hour 20, I don't know. You guys want to, I guess, kind of sign off anything that any final thoughts, anything you got going on? I can start. I'll start.
All
right. I just want to kind of say for any potential viewers, definitely thank you guys for listening, watching, however you're listening or enjoying our podcast. This is something that we're going to try to keep doing on a regular basis, so keep a lookout for that. We'll have all the social media stuff, YouTube, SoundCloud will be, wherever you can get podcasts. And again, we're just trying to have fun with this, trying to keep it loose and talk about things that we think are interesting. Yeah, nice shoulder work. Another thing, for not exactly sure when this is going to come out, but it'll probably still be happening for anyone that's watching that's a protester or anyone that's out there being vocal. In this time, I appreciate all of these people. Let's not forget about the essential workers either. Shout out to them. Shout out to all the protesters, all the people doing the right things out there, all the people being safe in all senses of the word. Just positive vibes going out to everybody. Thanks for listening. Episode 1 down.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that too. Shout out Black Lives Matter, essential workers. Thank you so much for everything you do, and thanks for listening.
Out there at that.
All right, guys. Way to keep it original. Thank you. All right, so we'll try to get this out to you guys as soon as possible, and keep an eye out for the next episode. We'll get back into our regular antics. Thanks for watching. I don't know what that was.
I tried to do like a closeout thing.
Okay, we'll fix that. We'll fix that.
Yeah, please.
All right, cool. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Peace. We weren't supposed to actually leave, Mike. Tell Mike to come back.
Wait, you gonna stop the recording?
I guess I could.